Good afternoon everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all safe and well. It's an absolute pleasure to be back. Now, before we start the episode, and I'll basically give you a run through of what we're going to be doing today, I'd like to say thank you to all those new subscribers who have joined the channel since the last episode. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's watched the most recent 2-3 videos. Really means a lot to me. Thank you very much. And yeah, I will continue to make content until basically until we get bored of each other, and hopefully that won't happen. So today I had like a moment a couple of weeks ago where I was thinking about what to present you guys with for the next episode, and I've been enjoying like doing 10 albums from a particular, I don't know, whatever the parameters is, whether it's from a record label or from a particular country or a particular subgenre within jazz. I've been doing that and I've really enjoyed it, and it gives me an opportunity to just go through my collection and revisit albums that I haven't heard in some time. So it's been fascinating and enjoyable for me. So thank you very much for those who have been prompting me to, get me to do these videos. It's just been magnificent, basically. So thank you very much for that. So apart from thanking those who are new subscribers, and of course thanking those who have been around for quite some time, I wanted to do a video on jazz from places other than the US. Now, please don't be offended if you live in the US. I'm making no slight as to the contribution, not only originators, but the chief supporter of the jazz movement, obviously, is from the US region. That's where we get the genre from. But there are places in the world who are able and capable of giving their own unique spin on the genre of jazz. And obviously, where you live in the world will give a distinct and unique flavor. And I've always been interested in those unique and interesting flavors. So again, for those who are new to the channel, I'm somewhat different from other YouTubers and other content creators in the realm of vinyl and jazz, in the sense of I tend not to repeat what other people are doing. I do, of course, I watch other people's contents, but I try not to get unduly swayed by those videos. And for my own personal collection, I'm just a bit of a contrarian in the sense of, I do have Blue Note albums, I do have Impulse albums. There's no point in showing it to you because other people have done it, and not only done it way before I would even considered it, but they'll do a better job of it than I will. So I just wanted to present to you guys something fresh, something that you may have not seen in your territory, and you just don't know it exists until somebody presents it to you. So this is an opportunity for you to see some of the output from particularly Europe. I'm going to concentrate on Europe for this particular episode. It's going to give you an idea of what's out there, and hopefully you guys can order it in through your own territory. So this is kind of like, think of this as an appreciation of jazz and people's interpretation of that throughout the world, but we're going to concentrate on the European side of jazz. And let's just see how this goes, to be quite honest. So it's going to be 10 albums. I'm going to try and just give you a brief idea of where these albums come from, when they were released, my initial feelings with them, and we'll go from there. Hopefully this won't be a super long video. I have tended to waffle on quite recently, but that's my excitement and my enthusiasm. So I'm not going to really apologize for that, but I know for many of you, you just you find the long videos quite jarring. but this is just the way I do it. So if I'm going to be doing one video per month, I'd rather it be a long one. I just can't dedicate the time to be doing shorter, more numerous videos. I just don't have the time to do it. So I do apologize in that sense, but I'm always going to have something for you by way of content, and hopefully you're going to find it interesting. I do hope that. So of the 10 I'm going to show you, if you've got one or two, thumbs up to you, particularly if you live outside Europe. I got to say to you, you know, got to give you a salute that you're that dedicated. If all the material I'm going to be showing to you today is new to you, I'm just super glad to present it to you, so you can investigate them for yourselves at your leisure. But of course, with each and every album where possible, when you do check in the video description down below, I'm going to try and leave, well, my intention is to leave audio links so you can hear the individual tracks for yourself, or you can pursue the albums, and from there try and find a retailer or somebody out there who's selling. If you do like them, by the way, you'll find somebody out there who's selling it. So yeah, let's start at the beginning. So we're doing Europe jazz, okay? So it's jazz fusion. Might be the odd one where it goes into kind of more jazz funk, but it's more jazz and jazz fusion, mainly on the modal side of jazz, but there is some bop jazz in there as well. So there you go. That's to give you an overview of what's going on. So straight out of the bag, and I've got to read my notes, got to find somewhere more convenient to put this. It's a 2017 release. It comes out of Germany. The actual group themselves is called the Rosset Meyer Geiger. I'm not sure it's a trio. I'm going to show you the album cover. There you go. I like that, and I'll show you the reverse as well. Yes, it's a double vinyl. Got this recently, and I've got to confess, when I'm trawling through people's, particularly online catalogues, I tend to go right the way through it, because I'm always looking out for something new and different, and something which is going to complement the jazz that I already have. But as I said in the introduction, I'm a bit of a contrarian, so I don't necessarily want what everybody else has got, because I kind of want my collection to be slightly different. It's like if there are 10 other people out there who have got all the same albums, I'm not going to get any. I could just look at one person's version of it and that will be done. Yeah, basically I'm saying I just want something different anyway. So thank you for coming along with this journey. So this particular album, when I trawled through somebody's online catalogue and I came across this one, it blew me away, the level of sensitivity. Yeah, it was more of a, it feels like a more, well, it's based on a live recording. Well, it is a live recording, so it's stripped down. It's just really good musicianship done in a sincere fashion, and I found the compositions on here really interesting. And I don't mean that as a throwaway comment. I mean that it did resonate with me, and it just put a smile on my face in terms of, this is real good, and this is a real good example of contemporary European jazz, and I'm just so glad it exists. It's blown my mind as to what's out there, and I certainly will be checking out some other of the Rosset Meyer Geiger trio's output, because yeah, this is a really, I'm not sure how much other albums they've done. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I know I like this one. So again, I'm going to show you the cover there. Yeah, really happy to have this in my possession. The tune that I'm probably going to be providing a link for is a tune called Shell Bay, and I just found it chef's kiss. I just found it to be unbelievably entertaining. Yeah, it's it either works for me or it doesn't, and certainly in this case it does. So out of Germany, it's the Rosset Meyer Geiger trio, I guess, live at Beethoven House in Bonn, and it's a 2017 release. So that's the first one today out of Germany. The second one today is a 1969 release to all accounts. The version I'm going to show you is from an EP, and I'm really glad to have got my hands on this particular artist's work. I'd seen this album in the wild, but I'd been distracted by other trinkets and not got round to buying it. Super glad to have it in my collection now. It's by a gentleman called Eric Andresen, and it's the Eric Andresen Quartet. And this particular album or stroke EP represents the Norwegian region of Europe. And let me just show you the cover there. So there you go, and that's the reverse side. Lovely bit of vinyl. I don't have many like 10-inch EPs. I don't have many, but when I do find one which ticks all the things that I like in jazz, if it has it in there, I'm gonna purchase it. And I don't really, okay, as long as it's on the vinyl format, but I don't really have 10-inch or 7-inch vinyl. I don't have a lot of it. I just tend to like albums. So, but when I came across this, it's absolutely superb. So again, as I said, coming from the Norwegian region, 1969. The two tracks from this particular one, which I'm going to leave links down below for, would be Cointral, and which is an original composition, and Inner Urge, the Joe Henderson classic. And I must admit, they done a superb job on this one. Again, just lit up my ears, started the tingling sensation of hearing something familiar yet different. It just blew me away on this particular one. To get this particular EP, you will find it out in the wild. You got to do a bit of searching for it, but it's going to be out there. There is an album version, accompanying album to this particular EP, but it doesn't have the same tracks on vinyl. It happens to have these tracks which are on here, but they give you like a free CD and a download, and you can get the two tracks off that other album. But strangely enough, I bought this first, fell in love with it, then bought the album. So no regrets. There's overlap, but not overlap in the same sense of everything's on vinyl. It isn't. You have to get the album, and then it's going to have certain tracks on it, excluding these two, and a CD and a download which has everything on it, which comes with the album. But I wanted a vinyl of these ones. So yeah, very good. Eric Andresen, unbelievable performer, composer. Love what he does. Slightly kicking myself I didn't get into him earlier, but I certainly will be looking hard through his back catalogue and see what else I can get from him, because I enjoy what he does. I really do. So that's the second one, and that represents Norway from 1969. The third album today, I've wanted to show you guys for ages now, and I bought this album quite some time ago. It just, okay, one of the other features of what I do for videos is I try hard not to show you the same albums again and again from my collection. Yeah, there's ones which can overlap, there's no doubt about it, but I try consciously. If I've shown it to you, whether in an unboxing or another video, I try not to show it again, because I assume you've been kind enough to have watched the video, but I just want to keep it fresh for you guys. So even if you didn't watch it, you can go back through my old videos and you'll come across it. But anyway, by the by, so this particular album is I would say it's an EP again, but in 12-inch size. It's two separate artists, two separate jazz bands here. There's the Pori Big Band and the Tapiola Big Band, both hailing from Finland. I'll show you the cover. Love the cover. Love the energy, the vibrancy. Yeah, I just it puts a smile on my face. So this particular imprint, you'll find it in quite a few retailers, even Amazon, and they have an extensive back catalogue of albums from not only Finland but from under this label. Now, I trawled through pretty much the entire collection. Some of it was, well, a lot of it was misses for me, but when I came across this one, particularly the A side, which is the Pori big band, I fell in love with it. Now, I don't necessarily like big band jazz. I like some of it, but I don't like a lot of it. It doesn't really feature in my collection, not really, but this one changed my mind as to what's out there, what can be done, and I just find it superb. Now, the track that I would recommend from this particular one, and I will leave a link down below, is Back to Pori by the Pori Big Band. Not sure how hard this will be to find at this moment in time, but I'm sure there's going to be somebody out there somewhere if you are interested. Excuse me, I've got a little dust in my throat there. Let me have a... Sorry about that. Yeah, there's going to be somebody kind enough to relieve themselves of their copy and sell it to you for a fair price, hopefully. So, but in terms of seeing it in other record stores and that, no, I haven't really seen it, but an absolute treat, this one. Yeah, it fits in so well with my collection, and it's made me reevaluate what I think about big band jazz, because just like anything else, I guess, if it's done well and it's to your taste, what resonates with you, then why not have it in your collection? I wasn't willing to leave this one behind. I was going to get my hands on it, so super glad to get it. So again, from 1976, and it's from Finland. The next one, give me a second just to flip me piece of paper here. The next one I'm going to be showing you, next album, hails from Switzerland. It's a 1975 release. Again, this is one of those things where when it was initially presented to me that this was available, I'd overlooked it for whatever reason. Then just so happens I gave it a chance, gave it a listen, and I can't imagine not having this in my collection now. So again, this is part of our journeys. Sometimes things, when they're first presented to you, just you get distracted by other things, and then you can, if you're lucky, you can come back to it, and then you go, oh yeah, that's why I like that particular album. And I'm so glad to, like, this is the case where I've managed to get my hands on a copy. It's really that good. So again, from Belgium, 1975 release, and it's by a group called the Boylet Therese Quintet, and this is an album called My Greatest Love. So yeah, this one fortunately came with an OB strip. Lovely pressing on this one. Just phenomenal. It's phenomenal, fair. It's an outstanding piece of jazz. There's no doubts about it. And again, yes, it depends on really what you're measuring it against. If you take all your preconceptions of jazz and some of your, if you're the sort of person who thinks that only the US can produce jazz, then this is a really good example of, well, perhaps that's not the case. There are other places where really good jazz has hailed from, and yeah, this is just a really good example. So the track off this particular album, I will go for a track called Gemini, which I'm going to leave an audio link to down below so you can hear it for yourself. But yes, this is more on the bop side of things, not hard bop, but yeah, there is a strong bop influence in there. And I just love the compositions. I like that they've taken chances. I like that through my mind's eye, I'm imagining scenes and vistas which are not American. They are distinctly European, and I just find that super enjoyable. It's something different. So, well done to those European regions who have taken on jazz and given their own unique spin on it. It just makes life and enjoyment of music just a bit more entertaining than what it would be if it was only from one region. So I'm super glad to actually own this one. I'm super glad it exists. So yeah, let me show you the reverse side if I haven't done so already. Yeah, pretty nice cover. Yeah, I like that. So again, from Belgium, 1975, that particular release. So yeah, the next one is a 1979 release from Serbia. This particular one comes from, sorry, let me have another sip. Beautiful. And if, unlike some other content creators, particularly with vinyl, I don't often talk about Grail records because I'm not sure. Okay, there's stuff that, yeah, it's kind of like there's always a shifting set of goalposts for it. So there's things that you would have want when you are doing your early collection, but once you get that particular item, then what's next, sort of thing. So I don't have like my stuff's always moving in terms of what I really want, and sometimes it's a case of when I've actually heard something and I don't own it up to that point. For me, that's treated like a holy grail, and it's like I want it. But this one is on some of my previous. The reason for telling you this is my meandering is on one of my compilation videos. It was about Eastern European jazz, and thank you to those who have watched it already. Those who haven't, you might want to check it out. It's under the umbrella term of compilation kaleidoscope, and there's one about a particular European jazz and jazz fusion compilation album, which I find fascinating. And one of the artists on there, or the umbrella kind of theme of what was going on that particular compilation, led me to this artist. And when I found this one was available again, I would have done anything to get my hands on a copy of it. So enough of that preamble. So as I said, Serbian, 1972, great slice of European jazz, and it's under Misha Blam. Loving the moustache. That's a real masculine of its era, not messing about, a little chain to go along with it. Yeah, this is firing. Yeah, so loving the cover. Yes, so if you were there when I actually ordered this particular album, and you'd have seen the grin on my face, like, I've got you now. And I still feel the same about it. It's absolutely this. It may not be to everyone's taste. I do understand that. And as an album, I wouldn't say the whole thing is great, but the elements which are good transcend and elevate to being really good. So it was a balance thing for me, and I knew I had to have it. Now, the track that I'm going to leave a link to is called, it's track 3 on side B, and it's called Saddam. I'm not even going to pronounce the second word. It's DVADESETPET. However that's pronounced, I have no idea. I'm not going to try it. But yeah, I'll leave a link down for you below, and you'll be able to see it for yourself and hear it for yourself. And hopefully you'll leave in the comments like, oh yeah, it was justified, the hype that you gave it, or you might just say that's absolutely awful. Now, either way, I can handle it. I'm just super glad it's in my collection. So yeah, I've got no regrets on this. Let's see if I made any notes. Yeah, yeah, pretty much what I've said already. Just a really good example of European jazz. Yeah, so from Serbia, from 1979. For me, a really important album in my collection. Have a listen, see what you think. Hopefully you can find it in your territory if you're interested. So there you go. Right, let's flip over. That was the fifth one. Let's see what this. Right, the sixth album today hails from Belgium. It's a 1973 release. And yeah, again, it's one of those things where I think I'd heard this album years ago and for whatever reason couldn't get my hands on it, or it just went out of my mind that it existed. But once it was made available to me, again, it was a no-brainer, had to have it. Now, this album's slightly different from the rest that I've shown you already, which most of them followed, traditional jazz models. This one is more on the jazz fusion side of things, and that's not, I'm just telling you up front, it's got a different sound to it, but I appreciate this album so much, and I appreciate the artist involved so much. It's got a lovely, distinctive sound. The group itself is called Placebo, and that's not to confuse with a later version of a band with the same name who hailed from England, and they're kind of, I don't know what their genre is, but it's more kind of popular music, kind of, it's not jazz anyway. So this is a earlier band under the same name, but totally different people and totally different genre. So this particular album, 1973, I just fell in love with it. It's got a unique, crisp, energetic sound, which just had me vibes in. It's just a really good sound. As I said, this is more jazz fusion. And let's see if I've put any... Right, so the track that I would recommend from this album is... And it was a toss-up between two, between Temps and Feline, and I've gone for Feline or Feline. I just think it's a super sounding track. But as I said, it's more on the fusion side of things. So again, it works in my particular collection, because I've got the stuff that I normally show you, which is more along traditional jazz models, and then I've got like the kind of jazz fusion stroke jazz funk, and then yeah, I just buy all sorts of things, as you well know, but this fits in lovely under the fusion side of my catalog. So yeah, really happy to have it. It's energetic. Please give it a listen. You might find that it might work in your collection. Hope it does. If you've got it already, then thumbs up to you guys, because you've obviously got taste. So there you go. So that was the Belgian album for this video. The next one I'm going on to is a 1983 release, and this comes under the umbrella of representing France. It's by a gentleman called Eric Lalanne. Eric Lalanne. Yeah, you try and say that. Well, yeah, obviously you can. The album's called Nightbird, and as I said, it's 1983, hailing from France. There you go. So quite a knowingly rebellious type of dude. And again, this is a familiar story of what I've kind of like covered already. It's one of those it's one of those types of albums where I trawled through somebody's catalogue, and it's like, oh, I've never heard of this guy before. Let's give this a listen and just take it on its own merits. And gee whiz, I was so happy that I did that, because I really do feel that it feels like a missing part of my contemporary jazz jigsaw stroke collection, vinyl collection of jazz. I find this album absolutely superb. I've listened to it quite a few times, and there's so many subtle yet interesting interplays of composition, musicianship. It's just different, and I'd really, yeah, I was kind of blown away by how good and how intricate the compositions were on this particular album. You know, there was points when I was thinking, this is good as jazz as I've ever heard anywhere. If you strip out and, you know, if you just take it on superficial kind of just listening as to what's going on, I'd really sincerely put this album up there. Now, it isn't, the whole thing isn't as consistent as some of the big hitters from the Blue Note catalogue. It just isn't. But again, when it's doing things right on this album, it really is, and it's just an interesting voice in jazz to hear, and it certainly has given me food for thought in terms of what I want in my collection. And it's kind of like, it's given me more confidence in saying, like, no, you can step away from the big houses and jazz, and you can still have a really good collection without just having or possessing and owning what everybody else has. So yeah, it appeals to the contrarian in me, but more importantly, it appeals to the appreciator of jazz in me, that I'm not willing just to go with the herd. I want to find something else which I believe is as good a quality as anything else out there, and this album certainly does that. So really happy to have this in my collection. Now, the track that I'm going to provide a link for down below is a track called Nightbird. I just think it's an absolute piece of genius, and it's a really good example of what this gentleman's able to do on this album. Now, I will be in the future, if there is other material from this gentleman, I'll be seeking out, try to get my hands on it, or certainly listen to it first. But this is I just feel lucky that I've got this. If you already have this in your collection, I've got to salute you, because you got taste way beyond me. It's like I'm late to the party on this, but I'm just super glad that I have got to the party finally. But yeah, if you do have this already, well done to you, because you've got a really good ear for jazz. And if you haven't got it, this is an opportunity to acquaint yourself with a really good artist, doing jazz in his own way, like I said, with his own national voice. And again, I find that fascinating. So that's the French Representative, and that was the 7th album. Right, the eighth album today hails from Bulgaria. Okay, and it's a 1978 release. I think I know where this came from. Anyway, before I do anything, the band itself, the jazz band, is called the Jazz Quintet, and the album's entitled Idea. Quite like that, playing cards. Yeah, it's a nice little, I'll show you the reverse side. So I've had this album for ages. It's one of those ones which were in a part of my collection which kind of out of sight, out of mind. I didn't really remember that I had it. But again, in the process of doing, getting this video together and seeing what jazz albums I got from what region in Europe, I'm just like, oh yeah, I do. I'm sure I've got like a Bulgarian one somewhere. Now, yeah, I think I got this album for cheap as chips. And I think I might have bought it from what you would call a thrift shop. So I think they was almost giving it away, to be quite honest. But I'm really glad to have it, because again, it's another example of what Europeans were doing in jazz at a particular stage. And again, I think the production, okay, the compositions and the production on there are really good. There are medleys of famous tunes, where as in a medley, it's like 5 tunes rolled into one, many of which that you're going to know already. I just think it's done with, again, a unique voice which is entirely un-American, yet you do recognize it still, and that's why I found really some joy in here. Now, I might struggle to get a clip from this one on YouTube. If I can't, just know that it exists, and you should be able to get it if you are interested in this. Well, first of all, if you have it already, well done to you. If you don't have it and are interested, I'm sure there's some other music platforms where you might be able to give it a listen. Now, this will be a combination of, again, traditional songbook jazz, a bit of big band, and a couple of original compositions. If you can get it for reasonable money like I did, it's well worth having in your collection because it sounds different to everything else. As I said, I'm going to try and leave a link down below if I can. It may not be the track that I ideally wanted to, demonstrate to you as an example of their output, but if I do happen to find a link, I will just use it so that at least you can hear something of what they do. But I'm really glad to have it. Nice to have the novelty of having a Bulgarian jazz vinyl record in my collection. So yeah, super glad about that. So let's move on to the last two now. The next one represents the Soviet Union or Russian Federation. And again, this is an album that when it came to my attention that I could get a copy of it, I just had to pull the trigger. And where normally I'm quite frugal and it's like, well, shall I wait a while and see if this, if it's going to come down from the opening retail price. If I leave it 6 months, I'll be able to get it for X amount cheaper than the first price. With this one, as soon as I knew it existed, I was getting this. And again, this goes back to the Eastern European compilation I had spoken about earlier. And again, as I said, you'll be able to find it under the playlist of compilation Kaleidoscope. It's the one Eastern European compilation I put in there, so you'll be able to find it quite easily. But I was certainly, that compilation brought me to this one here, and am I glad that I own this. It's a 1984 release, again representing the Russian Federation, and it's a group called Boomerang. So there you go. The original pressings of this had a completely different cover to it. Really glad to get my hands on this one. It's got a couple of tunes on here which I've heard, adored, wanted so badly, but had no means of getting my hands on them. So yeah, this is just absolute, for me anyway, and what I want in my collection. This is real classy. It's different. It's a showstopper. I'm just really glad, and even holding it in my hands now puts a smile on my face. It's like, yeah, you got your hands on it, mate. So yeah, hopefully when you listen to it yourselves, you might be attracted to it as well, and it might just work in your collection of jazz. But for me, I'm just so happy to own it. Now, there's 2 outstanding tracks on here. Now, the whole thing, there's a couple of misses on here, but on the whole, it's a really good album. Now, the track that I'm going to probably leave a link to down below is a track called Ornament. I just think it spells out exactly not only the region of the world in which this jazz came out of, but what the band represents as well. So I'm probably going to use that one. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you are interested in this album, you will be able to find it. Now, depending on what you're like in terms of, how much you think an album is worth. for a new pressing of an existing album, you may or may not want to pull the trigger. I had to, but you're going to make up your own mind if you think it's worth it. But for me, certainly, I had to have it. I just had to. So there you go. So that's the Boomerang's the name of the band, representing the Russian Federation, a 1984 release. So getting quite close to the end of. So we're at 40 minutes now. So let's try and get this last one in before my card does not my SIM card. Yeah, the card for the memory does its own thing. So the last one today represents the UK, if not England, and it's a 1978 release. It's by, well, I picked this up recently and it blew my socks off. More in the jazz fusion side of things. So again, I'm really happy to have it in my collection. It just works. So it's by a group called Magician. I think it's a self-titled album. It is. Yeah, came out in 1978. As soon as I heard it, I just was enamored with it immediately. I found this to be enjoyable. It's a slice of fusion. They're doing their own thing, and I just found it super enjoyable. Hopefully you guys will feel the same. I just think this is a naughty piece of jazz fusion. It's really as simple as that. Really glad to have it in my collection. Again, if you've got this already in your collection, I've got to salute you for your taste. I really do. But again, I'm just glad to join the party when I have. So yeah, if I'm ever playing like just going through my jazz vinyl for somebody else, and they kind of say, oh, what's a really good, yet original track, I'm going to play them something from this. So the track that I'm going to be highlighting and leave a link to is a track called Bizarre. Hopefully you're going to like it. If you do, you will be able to get this in the wild. So, and I think even if you do miss out on it initially, I'm sure they're going to do a repress of it. Yeah, it's going to be more expensive for another repress, but I think you'll be able to get your hands on it if you do like the sound in it, which I certainly did. Yes, an extremely enjoyable album. Yeah, really glad to have it. So that's 10 albums from in and around Europe, giving their own definition of jazz and jazz fusion, a unique style, a unique flavor to things, and I just think it's super interesting. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Now, hopefully, with the links that I'm going to provide you, you can hear it for yourself, make up your own mind, see if one or two of them will fit in your collection. I really hope that they do. You may just go, well, actually, I don't like anything you've presented to me. Again, what can I do? It's like, hopefully, if you've been around me for a while, you kind of know I go off on these tangents anyway. So, but I hope to bring you something interesting. Whether or not you find that that's going to work for you, I'm not entirely sure, but at least you know they exist. So thank you once again for joining me for an episode. I really do appreciate it, you spending your time with me. I find it super enjoyable. Please consider liking, subscribing and sharing. Hopefully you found the video, if not entertaining, slightly informative. It's been an absolute pleasure on my part. Please look after yourselves, stay safe. I will see you soon for another video. Lord knows what the topic's going to be, but I will see you shortly for another one. So until then, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.